What's happening, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Adam, this is Vancity Audi, and I'm going to start this video the most Canadian way I know how by saying sorry. I am sorry to all of you that have inquired on what the hell I'm doing with my B9 S4. We have suffered some massive delays in getting this project underway, but I promise you, we have everything now. In the coming weeks, we will be building this car and making it as quick as we can in the quarter mile while retaining its daily drivability, because I use it Monday through Friday to get to work, pick up groceries, run errands, so it still has to be functional. It's not going to be a crazy drag car like my RS3. We may strip out some interior in the very later stages to get it as light as we can, but it's all going back in once the racing season is done. In today's video, I'm going to be covering the pros and the cons and my feedback on the first 5,000 miles I've enjoyed in my B9 S4. It's been approximately 2.5 months now since I picked up this vehicle from Audi Kelowna and drove it back home to Vancouver, BC. I've put just over 5,000 miles on the car, and for the most part, I've really enjoyed the driving experience of this vehicle. Now, I say for the most part because there are some issues that I have with the way this car drives from the factory that I'm really actually surprised Audi let it drive away operating like this. I'll go over it in depth. But the first thing we're going to talk about is comfort. How comfortable is this car? Now, throughout this video, I will be referencing my previous vehicle, my 2012 Audi S4, a B8 S4, all the time, because that is what most people are asking me, and that's what most people want to know. Adam, is your B9 S4 that much better than your B8, and do you think it was a wise upgrade? So, in terms of comfort, this car is way more comfortable than my B8 ever was. The seats themselves are fantastic, way better bolstering, they look amazing, and you just feel more secure and more planted in your seat. Now, I'm a big dude, so I don't necessarily need to be held in by these bolsters. If I was more of a slender person, though, you want some support on the side so you're not being thrown all over the vehicle. But in terms of seating position and seats, it definitely goes to the B9 S4. So besides the comfort level of the seats, what about the comfort level of the way the car drives, the suspension, how it absorbs bumps in the road? When you're taking sharp turns, does the car completely flop over on its side and have horrible body roll? The B9 S4 does work better than the B8 S4 again. This car is on standard sport springs. I did not opt for the adaptive suspension in this car. I never changed that setting in my RS3 when I was daily driving it. I always kept it in dynamic. So I figured, why the hell would I bother? Here's a big bump. We'll see how well it handles it. It's a hell of a lot better than the B8 was. Instead of being all over it, it's dunk, dunk, you're done. So the B9 handles it better. Body roll, it's tighter on this car. It feels more sorted. Now, in the defense of the B8, it had about twice as many miles as this car does when I bought it. So the wear and tear on the springs could come into play as well. I'm not gonna take that away, but from my comparison, for my sake of how I experience the cars, the B9 S4 is more comfortable than the B8 S4 ever was on the standard suspension. So the next thing I'm going to discuss is gas mileage and what I'm seeing out of this 3-liter turbocharged V6 compared to what I saw in a supercharged vehicle in the B8. I am consistently seeing about 23 miles per gallon. That is a blend of city and highway driving. There was about a week once where I didn't go on the highway at all and I was just doing city driving, and it plummeted to like 19 miles per gallon, which I thought was crazy that it was such a difference. But I remember on the drive home from Kelowna, which was all freeway, I got like 32 miles per gallon. It was freaking nuts. I don't think I've got that good mileage out of any of my vehicles in a very long time. But on average, 23 miles per gallon, which is very comparable to my B8 S4 when it was stock and I was cruising around very mildly on the throttle and not hammering it down much. I was driving this car a bit more aggressive and I still managed 23 miles per gallon. Now to discuss something that I have not been impressed with at all, have been actually really disappointed. Now, I understand that I've been spoiled with the last 3 Audis that I've owned. They all had dual clutch transmissions. A DQ250 in the 2016 Audi S3 that I had, a DQ500 in the 2018 RS3 that I had, and a DL501, I think it is. It might even be a DL502 in the 2012 Audi S4 that I had. This has a ZF 8-speed automatic transmission. Sorry, Americans, my bad. There's me being Canadian again. A ZF 8-speed auto transmission. Hopefully you understand that. It's just not what I thought it was gonna be, especially when it's cold. Holy hell, does it ever suck when it's cold? The car is kind of bucks and it shifts poorly and it does not operate as I would expect a car of this caliber to work. I was expecting more out of it. All those other cars that I just mentioned with all those dual clutch transmissions at their peak level of performance, once they're tuned and everything, holy crap, they're awesome. But this one, those when they were stock still, they still operated as they should. They weren't like clunky or anything. This one sucks. When it's cold, it is clunky and doesn't shift well. Now, taking the cold out of the equation, when it's warm, it works quite well. It shifts through gears well. It doesn't clunk around. It's like you put your, you're good. You're good, buddy, you're good. Oh, it's awesome. So besides the hot and the cold thing, it works really well when it's warm. But when it's cold, not so much. So now that you've heard and seen me put my foot to the floor, we might as well transition into engine performance. Feels like $1 million, this beautiful specimen of a 3-liter turbocharged V6, and who the hell would have thunk it? Oh my God, there's a badge on the car that says V6T, and there's a turbocharger under the hood, not a supercharger. Oh my God. Jeez, man, sore spot for me. Those B8s, those SQ5s, those A7s, and all of them with those supercharged motor and the stupid V6T badge. Oh my God, big pet peeve of mine. But now we have a proper turbocharged motor. The turbocharger on these things is tiny, so it spools very, very quickly. The torque that you get out of this motor is tremendous. Audi claims 369 foot-pounds of torque from the factory. Now, I haven't had this car in a dyno yet. It will be shortly on the channel coming when I tune the vehicle so I can get a baseline on how much it's making before we go stage 1. But I'm feeling it might be a little more than 369 because it's tremendous, especially because it hits so down low. Now, with all of that said and how well the engine is working, I feel like that rolls into the final kind of thing that I want to discuss, and that's the driving characteristics of this car. I always drive the car in dynamic. I leave it in dynamic. There's no point in me switching it to comfort or anything else because I don't have adaptive suspension and I'm just cruising for the most part. That's good with me. And when I want to get on it, it's ready to rock and roll. I leave the car in drive though, not in sport like a lot of people do. Now, just like the transmission, the car kind of has a dual personality. When the car's in drive like it is right now, it sits at the highest gear it can and you just cruise. Just chill. But I don't like the throttle application that is required to really get the car moving when the car is in drive. It's just, I feel like I'm more throttle, more throttle, more throttle, more throttle. Like it's not down, it's just way too, there you go. That was like 2/3 throttle to get it to really get going. On the other hand of things, sport mode, it's almost too sensitive, I find. It's much, much more geared towards like being in the proper gear and wanting it. And so now throttle, it downshifts right away. I barely put any pressure on the throttle whatsoever. So in my opinion, it's either too little or too much. There needs to be that middle ground of throttle application to get the car to downshift, to be in the right gear, to be ready to rock or cruise. I don't think Audi really got it right. And that is why I am so freaking excited to finally tune this vehicle. Oh my God, 2.5 months with a stock vehicle. Good God, I never thought I'd say those words. But now we are ready. We have all the parts. We have everything we want to do. I know the step-by-step build and the progress that I'm going to take to turn this monster into as quick as a car as I possibly can in the quarter mile. So I hope you guys enjoyed my somewhat thorough, I'd like to say, impressions on the first 5,000 miles of this car. Definitely better than the B8 S4, except for the transmission as it sits right now. Once it's tuned, once we get some more things done to it, I'm hoping that I enjoy it more. I'm like going up a hill now. The car's in drive and it like doesn't want to downshift. Ugh, drives me nuts. So put it into sport and then it's way more friendly. Ooh, getting a little peppy. Suspension's handling the curves nicely. A little quicker, doesn't want to downshift again, but it feels good, feels good. Oh, it's just, I don't know, it's 10,000 times better than the S4, the B8, guys, I'm sorry. I know a lot of you fanboys out there for the B8s, you just are in love with those cars, the supercharger whine. It's intoxicating. For me, it wasn't. So this car feels pretty good. I went off topic there for a bit because I'm enjoying the drive, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. It just feels so much better. It's better sorted than a B8, drives better than a B8. Yes, at a stock level, I'm comparing even to even because a done out B8's way more power than this thing has. But yeah, feels good, and I'm super, super freaking pumped to start tuning it, to start bolting on parts, making a ton of power, and putting other people to shame on how fast these cars really are. Oh, buddy, second gear. Oh, feels good. Ripping. Third gear. Oh, hell yeah! God, that feels good. Can't wait, guys. Stick around. You'll check out all the videos coming up where we keep bumping up the power to go faster and faster and faster in my B9 S4. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, guys, take care.